Hey guys, it's good to see you back here on my Crafter's Companion YouTube channel. I hope you are well, and eventually we've got around to doing another tutorial. Seems to be like forever since I've done one. Life's been crazy busy the last couple of weeks with Crafters TV and prepping and hobby maker, although I'm not complaining because it's absolutely fab. Keeps me busy and it keeps me doing exactly what we all love. But the only thing with that just means I've not been able to sit down and do a tutorial. So therefore, that's exactly what we're going to be doing within this one here. For those of you that have continued to subscribe to my Crafter's Companion YouTube channel, thank you so much. It's much appreciated. And also for those that give me the thumbs up afterwards when it comes to the tutorials, that is also much appreciated. You can, of course, hit that bell notification. That just means you don't have to, but that just means whenever I upload a tutorial here, you'll get an alert just to say, oh, there's a tutorial there ready for you to watch as and when you want. So that's always the main three things we like to just point out, of course, for you guys to know. For anyone that is new to YouTube, of course, hopefully that helps. Now with this one, what we're going to do is I was meant to, a couple of months ago, have a Cheers to You masterclass, and then it got changed and I've been left with the demos. Now I know that I'll be able to use them, periodically within Crafters TV and Hobby Maker, but as it stands at the moment, I've got them all sitting waiting. So we're going to start to do them occasionally. If I don't get a chance on Crafters TV, then we're going to do them right here, right now, across on my Crafters Companion YouTube channel. Well, not all of them. We're going to do one of them. So it's using the Cheers to You collection. Now, because I prepped them for Crafters TV, usually, of course, when it comes to these, I do everything real time and from scratch. Now, I will do bits of that, but I do have bits already prepped. I'm going to be using what I've got that's already prepped as well. I don't want to have wasted my time prepping all those bits and then, of course, have to discard them. So, bits and pieces, we're going to be using what I've already got prepped. But other than that, we're just going to get cracking, and then we're going to get started when it comes to, of course, the tutorial. Now, I am going to, let's actually show you what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be using that one there. So that's the one, or that's the one that we're going to be doing anyway. We're going to do, it's a nice elongated card, so it's a little bit of a different shape. It is 3 3/4 by 6 3/4, and always, like usual, it's a top fold card because I do love a top fold card, as you guys already know. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be using the Time to Party edgeable, and then we are also going to then be using the Cocktail Hour. Now, usually when it comes to prep for Crafters TV on Hobby Maker, most people will tend to leave themselves little notes as to what they've used. And that is exactly what I tend to do. Not on this occasion. Now, other than these bits and pieces that are kind of obvious, when it comes to the colours, I've not written myself a note as to the colours that I actually used. I do know I used my tri-colour pen. So we're going to have a little bit of a play when it comes to the colour. I might not get it exactly the same colour as I had it. Probably get it pretty close, but just in case I can't remember, the colour might change, differ. But we'll have a look. We'll have a play and we can see what we can come up with. So that being said, let's start with the background. Let's start with that stripped background. You know I love doing stripy backgrounds with the pattern paper. And this one, this is our white cardstock. I've cut it to 3 by 6 inches. So 3 by 6 inches. And then using the 6 by 6 paper pad, what I've done is I've cut myself 1/2 inch in thickness when it comes to the papers or the pattern papers. So it's that side that I want. It's that side that I want. I also want that plaid side, and I also want the blue strip side as well. So these are the ones that I want. Now the length of it doesn't really matter as long as they're going to fit across the length of, or the width of your cardstock, but the thickness, I have done them at 1/2 inch thickness. So you can see these are kind of like the 4 main ones that I've done. Now I'm going to use my my tacky glue, my sticks to tacky glue, and I'm going to start, I tend to like to start myself roughly within the middle. So I'm just going to add my tacky glue You can use your double-sided adhesive sheets, of course. You can use your tape runner if you want. There's loads and loads and loads of things that you can use. So we're going to alternate it. So let's get this in an order that I want. So we've just done there the blue strips. So I've got the blue strips. We're going to go in with the peachy tone strips. We're going to go in with the yellow, and then we're going to go in with the green plaid. So let's go in with our next one. And because it's really long, I don't need to go right to the edge. I just need to then make sure I've got enough glue on the back, and I'm going to butt up against that last strip of card or paper. So there's that one. We're then going to go in with the yellow one, and we're going to pop that one into here. So the order that I go in this way, I'm going to repeat that way as well. Let's take our next one. I find it easier personally with tacky glue. Don't worry if you've got, I notice I've just got a tiny little gap there. It's about a mil or so. Don't worry, well, it's less than a mil, because we're actually going to block it off with black strips of cardstock. So don't worry if you do have any little gaps. I'm then going to go in, so we've done the green, so we're going to start from the beginning again. So let's go in with our blue here. And what I am going to do this time is I'm going to come quite close to the edge, because as we need smaller bits, I can start to use the overhang. So let's take that next one, and then we're layering up. So we're just going one after another. Probably what I'll be able to do is that overhang of the peach to, oh, not that one, the yellow. The overhang of the yellow is probably going to be enough to fill in there, which it is. So let's do that. So we're going to bring that in, and then we're going to place that on, and then we're going to take the green, and it really is just the tiniest of tiniest little gap there down in that bottom corner, but still we're going to infill it like so, and then we're going to repeat it. So let's do that again, but in the opposite direction. So we've gone from the, started off with the blue, we're now going to go into the peach stripe, and then the next one is going to be the yellow, which is then going to go into there. And then the next one is then going to be the green. So let's take the green and bring that in. The next one then is going to be the blue. So add that on, tuck that over. Then the next one is going to be the peach stripe. So let's use what we've got there. Add our glue or our tape on, which can then go into there. And then last but by no means least, we need the yellow. So let's take that excess bit of yellow, let's add our glue on, and now we're left with a real big messy background, which does not matter because it's going to look nice and clean once we've trimmed it. You can keep them, I can always use them for another project. So once again, let's go, and then let's just press all that in, making sure it's nice and adhered to. So I'm just going to press, and then I'm going to go in. You know what I'm like, I do prefer my small snippy scissors. So we're just going to work our way all the way up, and we're just using that back side of the cardstock as a guide to cut around. So follow along. Now you can use, of course, your scissors. You can use your craft knife and just use the edge of the cardstock as a guide to cut with your craft knife. You could use your paper trimmer. Can't remember if I said guillotine, but if I didn't, then I'll say you can use your guillotine. If I've already said it, well, I said it again. But yeah, you can use many, many items to then, of course, just trim away, and then you've got your stripy background. Now that looks fab, just like that. But you know what I'm like? I do like my bits of black cardstock. So what we can do is we're going to go, let me take some black card. I'm going to go in with my guillotine here. And I'm going to cut, I'm just going to make sure that that's nice and straight, which it is. What I'm going to do is maybe just a mil or two, if that. I'm going to trim little slithers of black cardstock. Now you can do these really thin. You could do them a little bit thicker if you want to. It's entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong way. I just think it looks really quite effective. I think that should do, because you can always use the excess once again. So let's bring this back in. Now I know that they are really quite thin, so what I like to do is on the join of the papers. So right between where the two different pattern papers join, I'm just going to do a little light bit of the tacky glue, and then I'm going to overlay with my black card. So I'm going to press, and then I'm going to overlay, press, like so. I do want to try and get it relatively straight, because if it's not, it can look a little bit on the wonk. Although in saying that, because it's just the background, and what we will of course do, come along with our edgeable, which is where I'm going to turn the edgeable into a topper. So let's take that strip there, let that grab, and then we're going to go in with that strip there. So although I've got all of my black strips relatively the same thickness, this is where it can look quite funky if some are a little bit thicker than others, or you might want to use different colours. I'm going to lift that because that really isn't straight. Let me take my pokey tool, and we're just going to line that up like so. And then let's take our next one like so. Bring that in, and then we're going to hold that in, let that grab. Now you can always use the edge of a ruler as well, just to make sure it's nice and straight, or you can use the grids along your glass mat as well to match up and marry up if you want to. And what I'm also trying to, or tending to do, is 2 strips of tacky glue at once. And the reason being is while I'm doing this one, that one's going to start to set. And when it starts to set, it gets a little bit more tackier, which helps. So take the next one, just making sure that it's relatively straight. And then press that in, and then each time I'm just turning around, because visually, because it's at an angle, it doesn't always look straight, or it looks straight when it's not, and it's because it's on the angle. So I'm turning it so it's vertical. So that makes it easier to see if it is actually straight or not. Although I am just using the indent between each bit of pattern paper. Again, there's that one. And then we're going to come along with our next strip and press that in there. And then let's budge that in. And for those that watch and follow me, whether it's here or social pages or Crafters TV or Hobby Maker, you know I am a big fan of black. Never underestimate the power of black. For a long time, black was only used with like sympathy cards. And if it wasn't used for that, it was very rarely used. Whereas it looks absolutely fab. Whether it's mats and layers, whether it's the joining. Hence why I use it quite a lot. Let's take that one. Now I don't think none of these are going to be long enough for me to use with that next one, so let's just put that up like so. And then we're going to take, let's take our guillotine, let's just do another couple more. That'll be more than enough. So I've got my glue on that one. So let's hold and press that in. Try not get my head in the way. Try and get my hair, my bouffant, which is massive. I have to say, once I have done this, I am heading to Scotland for a few days. And one of the first things that I'm doing is I'm catching up with one of my friends who actually cut my hair for like 25 years. And sometimes it's hard to catch up whenever I'm home because she's a hairdresser. So knowing that I've been going home and knowing that I was arranged to catch up and for her to cut my hair, I've obviously not got my hair cut over the last few weeks. And it's starting to bug me. Because I don't like it when my hair's overly long. I prefer it short. So if you see my hair keep going in the way or my head going in the way, it'll be getting cut. Right, let's press that down. Now we've got our backdrop with all of our strips that you can see. So we're going to do what we've done before with the pattern paper. Let's snip all that away using your scissors, paper trimmer, guillotine, craft knife. But we're just snip, snip, snip. Nice way to be using things such as waste bits of black card or whatever colour card you're going to be using. And same with the strips on the back there, the pattern paper, that could be block cardstock if you want to. That could quite simply be waste. Sometimes it's nice as well if you've got lots of bits left over, you know, and you might not necessarily use them to start with, put them in a little box and then just create the most random backgrounds. But then there we go. So from a blank bit of cardstock to strips of pattern paper with a little bit of black, there we've created our own backdrop. Sometimes it can be time consuming depending on the size, but I always think it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it big time. I'm just going to take a drink. And then what I have already done, and I'm going to use what I've already done here, is I've taken a bit of white card, and that is 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. So 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. And I've given myself just a very, very thin black matten layer. Now that's going to go onto the top there, but it just falls. I need to lift it. So I'm going to matten layer that onto a bit of black cardstock. But once again, I'm only going to give it a very, very thin black matten layer. So I'm going to use my Sticks to tape. And let's take all of these off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on my card, and then I'm going to cut with my guillotine afterwards. So I'm going to get it to the thickness, the left hand side and top, the way that I want it. And then I'm going to come along with my guillotine, and then I'm going to trim. So if I want it really thin, I do it lightly and a few times. Give me a very thin black layer. And then there we go, and it just finishes it off just nicely. And then that gives me, of course, my mat and my layers. So that white bit of cardstock, the white bit of cardstock was 3 by 6, and then done my strips, and then the bit of black cardstock that I've just mat and layered that onto is just about a mil bigger all the way round. My white card for this one, 3 1/4 by 6 1/4, and done the same. I've just given that a very, very thin black matten layer. Now let me take my, here's my foam pads. Let me get some more foam pads. So on the back of the pattern paper, we're going to lift that up on foam pads. So let's add these on into there. And my card blank, it's a top fold. So it's 3 3/4 by 6 3/4. So 3 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then I have got a top fold. So essentially I've cut that down from 7 by 7. It was 7 by 7, and I've cut it to 3 3/4 by 6 3/4 with a top fold. And then, as always as well, I've done my insert. So unless I know who I'm giving it to, and then therefore I know the insert I'm going to put in, I just put in a blank one. So the white card there, anyone wants to know, 3 by 6 inch with a 1/4 inch matten layer all the way round. So that is my card blank. So let's take these ones and let's layer these on. So let's add each, or take each of these off here. And that's going to go flat onto my card. And then for something like this, because I'm going to have quite a bit of height to this, I would make a little envelope box or a little box for it to go in, because I am purposely having height on this. So let's pop that on, like so. Now the reason I do a top fold as well, it's not just because I prefer a top fold card, it's because of the weight. Now if that is a normal opening card, because I'm going to have height and thickness to it, I'm going to have weight to it. So therefore the card can fall over if it is a traditional left opening card. So if you ever find that's happening, turn your card into a top fold card, because then that balances the weight that's on the front. So that's why I tend to do, one, I like top fold cards or tent fold cards, and two, it's about the weight as well, even distribution of the weight. So that is my base done now. So let's go in with my 2 bits of card. Now these are both exactly the same, 3 by 5.5. So I've got my die Time to Party, and we're going to turn this edgeable die into a topper. So I'm going to bring my die in. So I'm going to go right as far to that right hand side as I can. So where my edge of my card ends, that's where my die is going to end. And also the reason I've sized it this way is the top of the card is going to match that top umbrella, and the base is just going to meet at the base of the cocktail glass. I'm going to use my glass mat as a way to line up. So I'm right on the edge, base of the die, tip of the die, and then I'm going to have to bring in my tape. So still trying to use up as much of my washi tape as possible because I've still got loads. So line all that up once again, bring that in, and then we're going to tape that down. So we're going to tape that down, and then I'm going to come along with my plates. Now, because there's a bit of detail within this die, I'm going to use the full plate configuration. So I'm going to do base plate, and then I'm going to do frosted, magnetic, and then top plate. So once I've got all these up, I can then bring that, of course, to my G2. Now, with this die, it's going to go through your MIDI. It'll also go through, certainly the size that I'm doing, it will also go through your Mini. So you've got that option. So let's prise that away. And then we've got our edgeable, which we're going to turn into a topper. Now I'm going to do exactly the same. So let's flip our plates over. Let's take all these bits out. And because my black card is exactly the same size as my white card, because we're going to do a drop shadow, I am just going to then do exactly what I've done there a minute ago. So let's find the edge or the end of my tape and find a grid, line it up, bring the die in. I'm going to make sure the base of the black card is at the base of the cocktail glass, and then the top is at the tip of the umbrella. Bring our plates in, line up, full plate configuration once again, feed that one through. It's nice to see how you can use your edgeables not just for your edgeables of your card, and how they're good to be used as toppers. So we're going to take that one out, prise all that out. Let's just take that off. Let's just take that off so I can try and clean as I'm going, or be semi clean and tidy. So let's move that out of the way, and then any just little bits we can just pop that out, and then we're going to go in with our white edgeable. Now you know as well, usually what I do is I do a drop shadow down to the bottom right hand corner. On this occasion I'm not. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come to the left hand side. So we're going to then essentially go straight over the top, and then I'm going to pull to the left hand side. So let's take your chosen glue, and what I would actually say is, if you're going to do this, when it comes to your plate configuration with your G2, try it without your magnetic shim. And the reason being is I can see I've got some indents here on my cardstock, which to me means that's excess pressure that's not been needed. So try this without your frosted shim, because I think it's going to cut absolutely fine without it. Now to make it easier, I'm going to then of course hover over the top, and then I'm going to pull down towards me. And then having the tacky glue, it means I can then wiggle it into place. I only want a very fine black drop shadow. Let's hold and press that in like so. flatten that out, and now we've got our drop shadow. Now I've got just a tiny little black overhang along the top, so we're just going to trim that off, and then that's it. There we go. We have then got our edgeable. So I can set that out the way for now, and then let's bring in our cardstock, and I'm going to bring in a little bit of black cardstock here. So if I take, what was my original one that I'd done? 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. So let's trim that. I can't even remember what I just said there now. 2 3/4 by, oh, why am I doing that? I don't need to do that because I'm using the die to cut it out. Oh, Craig, you Wally. Right, let's bring our cocktail hour, and let's bring the cocktail, which I had many of them on Monday when I was out in Birmingham. Actually, I had one yesterday as well when I caught up with Charlotte, our old director. So I'm going to pop these into my cardstock, and I'm just going to make sure that I've still got room to die cut afterwards, which I do. So let's bring that in. Now this just happens to be our white cardstock. It's not a Nina cardstock. Obviously Nina cardstock's the best one to use, but I had excess little bits of my white multi-purpose card, so that's why I'm just using that up. Now I'm going to ink that up, and then let's turn that around and press that in like so. Perfect. What I'm also going to do, just while I'm here, let's do my sentiment. Let's pop that back into there. Now I've got a piece of cardstock, white card, and it's 3 inch by 1 inch, so it's 3 inch by 1 inch. And what I'm going to do is let's hold that down just to the corner there, because I want to stamp my sentiment towards the right hand side. That'll become clear as to why. And it's just a nice little snug fit. I'm going to lift that because I don't want to stick my head in the way. So it is purposely a snug fit. Let's bring that in. Yep, that's fine. Press that in. And then again, let's use our alcohol proof Noir Black. I'm using the alcohol proof Noir Black for the cocktail because of course I'm using alcohol based pens. And for the sentiment, well, because I've just used it a minute ago, we're just going to use it again. So we've got, do you know what rhymes with birthday? Cocktails. Lovely sentiment. Fun sentiment. Can't have a birthday without a cocktail, or a mocktail if you don't drink. Let's take that out the way. Let's matte and layer that before we start to colour. So let's bring my guillotine in. I've got a bit of black card. Now I want it to be, perfect. I want it to be the same length, which is 3 inch. I'm just going to make sure that's nice and straight and use this excess bit that I've got. Let's add our tape on. And another thing that I do quite a lot, which many of you know, is I have my matting layer at the top and the bottom, but not at the side. So I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to go right to that left hand side. So I've got a black layer at the top. Let's trim that off. And then let's trim that. So I've got my black matting layer, top and bottom, but not at the left hand side. You can, it's up to you. And then there is our sentiment. So we've got our sentiment, I've got my card, my edgeable, and then I've got my sentiment. So let's do a little bit of colouring here. Now before we do the colouring, you know what I'm like, let's do the die cut first, because I'm always scared that a stamp, colour, die cut, and then the die moves while it's cutting, and I've just wasted all that time colouring, and I've made that little mistake with the die cut moving. So I always do the die cut first before I do, of course, the actual colouring. Base frosted top plate, because we don't need all that excess pressure. We're going to cut that out, and then what we're also then going to do is we're going to use just that outer die, and we're going to cut that in black. Let's take that out, bit of black card, flip our plates over and run that one through. So again, we're doing top plate, base plate, and then we're also doing the frosted shim. So as that one comes out, let's bring that in, and then that's our silhouette, which is now done. We can do that drop shadow after we've done the colouring. So talking of colouring, let's take, I've got a bit of scrap card in the bin here. Yeah, that'll do. So let's take that one, and then let's start to colour. So if we go in with our tricolour brush pens, I've got, I think it was Warm and Fiery. I'm sure it's Warm and Fiery because, yeah, it must have been. Because you've got the fuchsia, the satsuma, and the vanilla. And on my finished example, that looks like the colours that I've used. So I'm going to go with this one. And I'm going to start, so with the tri-blend brush pens, or tricolour, you know, it's 3 different colour families that do still blend together. So I'm going to start in with the vanilla, and I'm going to act as though this is my lightest tone of what I'm using. So let's colour from the left hand side inwards. So let's work our way in, and we're just going to come to from the left hand side into the middle. But what I'm also going to do is I am going to leave like a white highlight line down the centre. So let's build up that colour of your vanilla. I'm going to go into what, for me, out of the 3 are the darker tones, and that is the fuchsia. So we're going to add the fuchsia just down that light, the left-hand side. Essentially, I am following where we've got these natural shade lines within the image. And then I'm going to jump to the middle one, which is the satsuma. And then let's blend that out, like so. And then I'm going to go back in to the vanilla, and we're just going to blend that out as well. So if we blend that out, you start to see you've got that shade, that roundness. I'm going to do exactly the same, but I'm going to flip it the other way round. So starting with the vanilla again. So let's get that light tone down. Well, I say light tone, I'm basing it as the lightest that I want to use. So let's go in with that light tone, leaving very, very thin white highlight down the centre. Build that up like so. Let's go in with the fuchsia once again. So I'm going to come round that outer edge there. I'm going to go into the Satsuma and blend that out like so. And then we're going to go back into that light tone. We're going to blend that out and come as far as I did before, just before we got to that white highlight line. And then there we go. We've got our cocktail glass. We've got that highlight line. If you wanted to come back, just add a wee bit more depth by flicking inwards and building up that colour. You can do. Work our way round. Go in again with mid-tone, flick out. So you've still got lots of colouring, creative play when it comes to building up the colour. And then blend out once again, like so. Now I'm going to leave that like that. I'm going to go in with, now, was it, this is where I'm going to have to take a guess here. Maybe the deep, no, I don't think it was the deep pink. The magenta, no, I don't think it was the magenta either. What could it have been? I don't know why I didn't leave myself, I know I always leave myself notes. Right, maybe it was then deep pink. Let's go deep pink. I'm going to go at the umbrella. And I'm not doing any blend. All that I'm doing is I'm just pulling from the top. And then pulling from the bottom. Using the fine nib. Pushing up. Pulling down, but creating that little bit of natural highlight within the middle. So we've got that one. Let's go in with the leaf green, I think it was, and colour in the leaves. So again, I'm not doing any blending or shading, I'm just laying that colour down. There's that one. Let's go in with, I want to say, the sand dune for the piece of pineapple. Let's do a little bit of blending and shading there into here. And then, so we don't have a red within this one. I think I used the red from my tri-blend. I also need, where's that green again? The leaf green. Let's use the leaf green just to go in with the stalks there. That should be fine. I think that's fine. The base, the actual glass, what we're going to do is we're going to use our ocean mist, I think I used. Yeah. So instead of using like an ice grey too, I'm just using the ocean mist and just creating that roundness around the bottom of the glass. I'm going to come into the glass as well, just into the back there, behind the fruits. There. I'm going to go in with the salmon. No, I'm not. The honey. That's right, it was the honey, that part of the honey that I used for the actual pineapple. I'm going to add a little bit of the salmon just down at the base. And then also with the honey, I'm going to use that for the umbrella. There we go. So the only thing that I need to do now is let's take a poppy. Let's use the classic pen here. I'm just going to add that colour in. I'm just kind of going to sketch it in. I'm not doing any blend or shade. I'm just sketching, so I've still got a little bit of the white cardstock underneath just showing. And then last but by no means least, let's take my ice grey too, and you've got a very fine white layer between the edge of the stamp and your die cut. So let's work our way around like I tend to do with stamped images, just filling in that outer edge. I'm going to go in between here as well, in between the fruits and the umbrella, and then that's going to add more dimension to it. And then that's it. That's all that I'm going to do when it comes to the cocktail glass that you can see there. If you want to create a little bit extra highlight with maybe something like a white gel pen or that, actually let's do that. Let's do it. So white gel pen, all that I'm going to do is where we've got some of these little highlight lines, I'm just going to enhance them just with a few little wispy white outlines. Same within your cherry, pineapple, a few little bits there within the umbrella, and then that's it. That's all that I'm going to do with our cocktail glass. So let's do drop shadow and let's complete the card. So let's add our tacky glue to the back, like so. And then let's add that on. So I'm doing my normal drop shadow, which is down to the bottom right hand corner. Press that in, hold in, and then there we go. So we've got that. We've got all these bits. So let's bring it together. Now I'm going to take foam pads off the back there, and I'm going to come to that left hand side like that and press it in. Now my actual sentiment I'm going to keep within the middle, and I'm going to keep that flat, and let's bring that into here. Let's press that in. And then if we bring our cocktail glass in, and let's come in with our foam pad, that can then sit nicely to the left hand side. And then all that I'm going to do is let's bring in, I've got some of my dewdrops here. If you don't have dewdrops left, you can of course use your glossy highlights. I really should start using my glossy highlights more. I'm going to do 3 dots at the top, 3 at the bottom, and then let's do a medium, and then a medium, and then let's do a few just smaller ones. And if you are relatively new to me or my style, no matter how incredible the quality are of gems or pearls, I will always adhere them using an extra bit of tacky glue. Because even the most incredible quality gems and pearls, like from Hunky Dory, over time they can drop off or knock off. So I'll always put a little bit of tacky glue onto the back to make it strong and secure. And then there we go. There is one of our cards from the Cheers to You collection. Strip background of the pattern paper. Also then got our black cardstock just to finish it off. Not only that, we've then got our cocktail glass. We've coloured with our tricolour pens. We've used our edgeable but we've turned it into a topper, added our sentiment, then of course we've also added our dewdrops, and I've done it as a top fold card because we've got extra weight there. If I bring that one in, so you can see it that way, and there is our card. Now yes, there's depth to it, you can keep it completely flat if you want to, but I would make an envelope box for it, or of course an actual box for it to go into. So there we go. Hopefully you've enjoyed that one. As I say, that is one of a few demos that I've got left from Cheers to You masterclass I was originally meant to have the other month there, and we've not been able to quite work it in, so that don't go to waste, I'm going to do them periodically here. Might be able to use a few of them within Crafters TV or Hobby Maker, but the chances are I'm just going to do them here as tutorials so they don't go to waste. If you did enjoy that one too, do please of course give me that thumbs up, and you're always more welcome, give my page a share if you don't mind. If you just go into that share button, and then you can always either share direct to various platforms or your pages, or of course you can then just copy the link and share it that way. Right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all your patience as well. I'm waiting on the next tutorial. We got there in the end, so all going well, fingers crossed we'll have another one early next week as well. So until then, thank you so much, and I will see you again right here on my Crafters Companion YouTube channel. See you then.